This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
All right, Place to Be Nation Pop Experience. This is the official first episode of Into the Spidey Movieverse. Greg Diener and Chico Alexander from It Was a Thing on TV with you right here as we are talking today about the first Spider-Man movie from 2002.
Best senior year ever.
Yeah, before we get into the movie, let's talk about our memories going into this movie.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing this. This was actually the first movie I saw. Again, I was a senior at UNC, and it was one of the first movies that played in the just opened Street to South Point cinemas. It was Continental. Now it's an AMC, of course.
Because everything's AMC.
Because everything's, if it's not AMC, it's Regal. But it was the first movie I remember seeing at the Street to South Point, and it was one of the first movies that they ever played because the place just opened, and I went there with my friends, and it was just oh wow! Came out of there just really enjoying just the whole newness of the theater, A, and B, because I like to go into new places. What can I say? And B, the movie itself was pretty good. So.
Oh yes, I did not see this in the theater, unfortunately. I do remember the movie getting tons of attention and tons of hype when it came out. So I didn't get the movie until it came out on DVD. Actually, I was going to get the movie for Christmas, but I don't know why, but I think my mom gave it to me like after Thanksgiving early for some reason. I was so excited and couldn't wait to actually see the movie. So she was like, okay, you can just have the movie now. I'm like, okay. And I watched the movie and it was great. And this was around the time when I was working at Blockbuster. This would have been probably like when I was 18 years old and I had just gotten a job there. I remember like there was so much hype around the DVD release of Spider-Man. I remember if you like pre-ordered the movie on DVD, you'd get like a rental card and you'd get like a free movie rental for like 10 weeks.
This was back when Blockbuster was still a thing.
Yeah, Blockbuster was still king around 2002. And also every Blockbuster had a contest where you'd have a giant life-size Spider-Man that you could win.
Now, is this a cardboard cutout or?
No, this is a giant life-sized, like stuffed model of Spider-Man.
I was about to say, is it a cardboard cutout or a mannequin with a suit on it, or?
It's kind of a mannequin with a suit on it. All right, I'm sharing the screen so Chico can see it right here on Zoom. But there it is right here. Look at that. That's exactly the Spider-Man from the 2002 movie.
I wonder if anyone ever tried to take that apart just so they can have the suit.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's stuck onto the suit. I don't know. I can't see how you could take it off that mannequin.
I don't see it either. I mean, they don't have a picture of the reverse of the statue, do they?
No.
Oh,
but you can see it's a limited edition of 4,000, and the one we're looking at eBay is 3,717. And just so you know, the item is worth $800 on eBay. And if you want to pick this up, you can't ship it because it's free local pickup in Newark, Illinois. So you'd have to get a U-Haul truck to Illinois to get it. Whoops. Well, that's the giant Spider-Man life-size statue from Blockbuster.
That is very giant.
It is very giant. But okay, let's get into the first Spider-Man movie. Now, before shooting began on the Spider-Man movie, now we didn't include this in our pilot episode regarding unused adaptations of Spider-Man, but we figured we might as well mention it. Yeah. One director who was considered for Spider-Man was David Fincher.
He of the Social Network.
Yes, and Case of Benjamin Button and Alien 3. Although he doesn't want to admit he directed Alien 3.
Who does? The only good thing about Alien 3 was the video game.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, in a 2011 Collider article, Fincher revealed his big issue with the Spider-Man character and why his movie idea for Spider-Man never got put together. Quote, my impression of what Spider-Man could be is very different from what Sam Raimi did or what Sam wanted to do. I think the reason he directed that movie was because he wanted to do the Marvel Comics superhero. I was never interested in the Genesis story. I couldn't get past a guy getting bit by a red and blue Spider-Man. That was a problem. It was not something that I felt that I could do straight-faced. I wanted to start with Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin, and I wanted to kill Gwen Stacy. And Fincher goes on about how he would have set up Gwen Stacy's death by saying, the title sequence of the movie that I was going to do was going to be a 10-minute, basically a music video, an opera, which was going to be the one shot that took you through the entire Peter Parker backstory, bit by the radioactive spider, the death of Uncle Ben, the loss of Mary Jane, and the movie was going to begin with Peter meeting Gwen Stacy. It was a very much a different thing. It wasn't the teenager story. It was more of the guy who settled into being a freak.
Yeah, in other words, he wanted to do the Amazing Spider-Man, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. That's not for another decade down the line, but
yeah,
there you go. So, eventually, Sony would settle on their director for Spider-Man, and that would be the man behind the Evil Dead franchise himself, Sam Raimi.
Yep. I was gonna say, was he the one who did the Hercules series? But then I remember that's a different Raimi.
No, he did. He did the Hercules.
I knew that name sounded familiar.
He was responsible for Hercules and Xena and everything. And not his first rodeo with the superhero genre, because he did the movie Darkman for Universal back in 1990.
Back when I was a little Chico.
So you have your director now. So who are you going to get to play the character of Peter Parker?
Could have gotten anybody in that role. In fact, I think I have a list of all the people that they were trying to get. They wanted Scott Speedman, who would have been doing Felicity at that time.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, they wanted Jay Roden, if I'm not mistaken.
Who'd that be?
I have no idea who that guy be. He does have an IMDb page, but it is very, very limited. He is known for a few features in his native South Africa, but the more substantial entry he has was as a regular on season 5 of Footballers' Wives.
Oh my God, Footballers' Wives.
Yeah, and they also had James Franco.
Oh yeah.
But those were the people who graduated to screen tests. More on the short list were Leonardo DiCaprio, Freddie Prinze Jr., Chris Klein, Wes Bentley, and Heath Ledger.
Oh yeah, Heath Ledger. Because he was just starting out at the time with A Knight's Tale and 10 Things I Hate About You.
And Wes Bentley, this was like a decade before his star turn in The Hunger Games.
He would have been coming off American Beauty at this time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But they did eventually settle on somebody.
Yeah, they did. Some guy named Tobey Maguire. You may have heard of him. Unless you were to say to me, hey, he did Great Scott for Fox in 1992. Oh, that guy!
What can we say about Tobey Maguire in this role?
I personally think he nailed it down.
Oh, yes.
I think he did.
And then you get to the villain of this movie, the Green Goblin.
Yeah, Green Goblin. Interesting thing about this movie, they first wanted a prosthetic, a facial prosthetic.
What?
Yeah, they wanted the Green Goblin to be a Green Goblin. They wanted it to be more attuned to the comic books. And a company named Amalgamated Dynamics was brought on to use to create this prosthetic for the Green Goblin. It did not work well, so ultimately they decided to go with the costume that they ultimately went with.
Yeah, they made him look like a Power Rangers villain.
Hi, Weird Al. How you doing?
And then you get to Mary Jane Watson.
And Mary Jane was played, of course, she was played by Kirsten Dunst. Kate Bosworth had auditioned for the role, but he wanted Alicia Witt.
Sam Raimi wanted Alicia Witt.
Yeah, of course.
That would have been perfect.
You're just saying that because she was on Twin Peaks.
Well, that, and also she's a redhead like Mary Jane.
Oh yeah, that works too. Of course, they wanted Kate Bosworth, Alicia Witt. Ultimately, they went to Kirsten Dunst because she decided to audition after learning Tobey Maguire had been cast because the film would have like a more independent feel, and she earned the role a month before shooting in an audition in Berlin.
And then, of course, you get Peter's best friend in Harry Osborn, played by James Franco.
Yep, who of course auditioned for Spider-Man himself. I'm looking at James Franco and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, he's no Spider-Man. Remember, Spider-Man has to be it's like
He has to be he has to be scrawny.
Thank you. I was looking for a diplomatic way of putting that.
But also, remember, 2002, James Franco is just coming off a little show on NBC called Freaks and Geeks. And man, was that show like, considering all the people that were on that show.
Oh god, that was like, you're talking about, this is how everybody sort of got their feet wet in Hollywood, almost.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But not to mention, speaking of, two of his co-stars on Freaks and Geeks actually come up on this podcast later on. I won't spoil it for you, but stay tuned for a future episode down the line when we talk about two of those cast members.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our cast, and now we get into the plot of the movie.
And of course, because this is the first movie, this is basically your blanket origin story. It's like, this is how Peter Parker became your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And if you know anything about the origin story from the comics, and again, it's just scrawny teenager goes on a field trip and gets bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yeah, because when we first meet Peter Parker, he's like being bullied on the bus.
Yeah.
And he wants to get the attention of Mary Jane, she like sympathizes with Peter, poor Peter, but she's not going to give him like the time of day or whatever because he's geeky.
No, she's not.
And then we meet Harry and Norman Osborn, and then Harry introduces Peter to Norman Osborn, and Norman delivers a line that I think is one of the most what the F lines in the entire series.
Right.
Harry tells me you're a scientist. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. What?
Yeah.
Was he trying to think that he was going to be impressed by it? What?
No.
But then we get into the field trip where they're at this place where spiders are. Or they're sort of developing, like, what is it? The perfect silk for something. And it's a genetically engineered super spider. It's not a radioactive spider. It's a genetically engineered super spider.
Yeah, that was a bit of a point of contention to purists on this movie because it was supposed to be a radioactive spider. But having a genetically engineered spider just makes it feel a little more current.
Yeah, because it's 2002. It's like the Cold War has been over for like a decade. No one really uses like radioactive stuff anymore.
Yeah, that just seems like a relic of Cold War America.
So yeah, he's very ill when he's home. Aunt May and Uncle Ben are just like, why is Peter like so sick? And they're like, oh, it's probably hormones or something.
Yeah, probably.
Meanwhile, at Oscorp, they're trying to test out the glider that eventually becomes the Green Goblin's glider.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, the intro to the Green Goblin, somewhat similar, but less demons in my heady.
Yeah.
Demons in my heady. That's a word. I know words.
But meanwhile, we go back to Peter, and he discovers, oh my god, I totally got buff, and he doesn't need glasses anymore.
Yep. It's weird. It's like, and I'll never forget the line, I'm just getting changed.
Ha 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 ha.
A lot of change.
A lot of change.
Yep. Because hello,
And
he has abs now.
He's got abs now. He's totally buff. However, it still doesn't give him any luck with trying to catch the school bus.
No, but he catches something else that day in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Mary Jane's lunch.
Oh, yeah. And I believe, didn't they try to test that out like numerous times?
158.
158 times until he got it exactly right, Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
That is impressive. That's no CGI or anything.
Nope, that's all practical effects.
Wow, great reflexes. Thanks.
No problem.
Hey, you have blue eyes. I didn't notice without your glasses. You just get contacts? Well, see ya.
So, needless to say, MJ is a little bit impressed.
Yeah. But meanwhile, back at Oscorp, we have a situation where Norman's using performance-enhancing chemicals on himself. And
yeah, this was meant for the military.
This is meant for the military. I guess, is it Norman supposed to be losing his funding or something?
It's like he needs this to secure funding. If he doesn't have this, he will lose all of his funding.
Yeah.
So with no other choice, he decides to test it on himself. It's still very unstable, still very unsafe. Ultimately, he goes insane as a side effect.
He goes insane and he kills the lab assistant. And then, like, Harry finds Norman on the floor of his house in his office or whatever. And it's like, oh, he's like on the floor. And he's like, hey, Dad, what happened? He's like, I don't know what happened, but we know what happened.
Yeah. He went insane and gained super abilities. It seems like, why is everything in the Marvel Universe centered around trying to recreate Howard Stark's super serum? You ever notice that?
Yeah, I know. So, Peter has an encounter with Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson, and he was supposed to be this big bully. And Peter gets to jump on him. Thanks to his newly discovered strength.
Oh, yeah. He discovers that he can just tell things that are happening beforehand. AKA, that's his spider sense.
Yep. And telling his story to Uncle Ben, he reminds him, and this is going to be a recurring theme, with great power comes great responsibility.
What do we have to talk about? Why now?
Because we haven't talked at all for so long. Your Aunt May and I don't even know who you are anymore. You shirk your chores. You have all those weird experiments in your room. You start fights at school.
I didn't start that fight. I told you that.
Yeah, well, you sure as hell finished.
What was I supposed to do? Run away?
No, you're not supposed to run away. But Pete, look, you're changing. I know. I went through exactly the same thing at your age.
No, not exactly.
Peter. These are the years when a man changes into the man he's going to become the rest of his life. Just be careful who you change into. This guy, Flash Thompson, he probably deserved what happened. But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Great power comes great responsibility, kid. Remember that. But yeah, Peter was sort of in a hurry and didn't really have time to listen to it.
Yeah, he's like, I just want to bounce.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, Peter discovers that he can have the ability to crawl on walls. And he can jump off buildings and such. And he discovers that he can shoot webs right out of his wrists, which is a change from the comic, I believe.
Yeah, that's another point of contention. When the comic book came out, he was able to shoot webs out of his wrists thanks to a device. In this particular case, it's because there's stuff literally growing out of his hands. So there's that. It's also how he was able to catch Mary Jane's lunch like that.
So Peter's like, okay, I need to get something to impress Mary Jane with. What do
How
I
about
do?
a car?
Oh, a
How
car.
about a car?
That's right. Because he goes into the classified ads. Yeah, this is 2002. This wasn't like a time when you could just go to Craigslist and find an ad for something. No,
Yeah.
you'd have to use the classifieds to find stuff.
You have to use your base. Yeah, you basically had to go into the Daily Bugle, ironically.
And he also comes up with the design for his costume. Because if you're going to be a wrestler, you got to come up with a spectacular design for your costume. Oh, red, blue. Oh, it's so.
It's sick. It's sick.
So sexy. Meanwhile, back at Norman's house, he's reading the Daily Bugle. And he's still having those headaches and such. He's looking at a headline in the Daily Bugle talking about how Oscorp might lose their contract. And he's like, Now let's get to the wrestling match, because we talked about the Uncle Ben scene. So now let's get into the wrestling match.
So he is wrestling under the pseudonym The Human Spider, or at least that's what he wants to be called. The promoter bills him as, wait for it,
Okay.
the Amazing Spider-Man!
It's actually Bruce Campbell as the ring announcer who says the Amazing Spider-Man.
So there you go. He finds a way to use his powers to win the wrestling match, and probably in a fit of rage, the promoter decides, I'm not going to pay you because you did something. I'm not sure what you did, but you did something.
Oh, I know why. I think there was a certain amount of time he was supposed to beat Bonesaw McGraw in.
Yeah, by the way, Bonesaw McGraw. You know who plays him?
Oh, would that be Macho Man Randy Savage?
That would be Macho Man Randy Savage.
What are you doing up there?
Staying away from you. That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
Yeah, he was supposed to beat him in a certain amount of time, and I think it was because he beat him like a minute early or something.
Yeah.
That's a wrestling promoter for you, am I right?
Yeah, but karma kicks in when a thief suddenly robs his office.
And Peter just lets him go.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to come back to bite me later. But before we get to what happens afterwards, we forgot to mention who plays the announcer of the wrestling match.
Who plays the announcer?
That would be the one, the only, Bruce Campbell. So now, Peter's just walking along on the street, and then he sees a crowd gathered around somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what is this? And he finds out, oh my God, my Uncle Ben has been shot.
By a thief.
By a thief.
It's the same guy.
Yeah. But we don't know that yet. So Peter tends to his dying Uncle Ben. And so he's like, I'm going to try to get this guy who killed my Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And finds the thief, and he plummets to his death, the thief, in fear.
So while all of that is going on, over at Oscorp, Norman has bound himself a set of armor and some military equipment that he uses to become, the prototype of the Green Goblin.
Yep. And he disrupts an experiment by Oscorp's corporate rival Quest Aerospace, killing several people. And you're not going to believe this, Chico. The following day, he doesn't remember this happened at all.
What?
No.
Aww.
So, Peter, Harry, and Mary Jane all graduate from high school.
So they graduate, and Peter decides to become Spider-Man full-time?
Yeah. He's just beating criminals all over the place. We get a montage of all these crooks that are getting arrested, and we have all these montage of people being interviewed about what they think of Spider-Man. We'll play it right here.
This is not a man. My brother saw him building a nest in the Lincoln Center fountain.
I think he's human. I think he's a man. Could be a woman.
Bobby, get a load of this. Throws up his hand Spider-Man's ropes come out, and he climbs up the ropes like a spider web.
I see the web, and it's his signature. And I know Spider-Man was here.
The guy protects us, you know? He protects the people.
Some kind of freaky Lewis something. Wackadoo.
He stinks, and I don't like him.
Don't move!
Guy with 8 hands. Sounds hot.
He has those tights and that tight little...
Dresses like a spider, he looks like a bug. But we should all just give him one big hug. Look out, ooh, here comes Spider-Man.
And by the way, did you notice that one of the people being interviewed was Lucy Lawless?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Because, as we already mentioned, Xena was produced by Sam Raimi.
They're good peeps.
Yes. So now we go to the Daily Bugle, where we meet J. Jonah Jameson.
I want the Spider-Man. I want pictures of the Spider-Man. You're fired. Wait, no, you're rehired. By the way, J. Jonah Jameson, of course, played by the inimitable J.K. Simmons, who you would also know as the voice of Peanut in the M&M's commercials.
Yes. Among other things.
And, of course, the head of the Farmers Institute of Insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. Well, yeah, he needs somebody to take pictures of Spider-Man because, oh my god, we can't even get a good picture of Spider-Man.
Nope, he's too quick. He's too quick for you. So he hires who he thinks is the only person who can feasibly get a picture of Spider-Man. Peter Parker.
Yeah, but first he looks at all his pictures, and he's like, crap, 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 crap. I'll give you 300.
There you go. And just like that, he's a photographer.
Yup. And of course, Peter gives his information to J. Jonah's assistant, Betty Brant, who is played by Elizabeth Banks.
By now, you should know that Elizabeth Banks is in damn near everything.
Damn near everything. She's the friggin' host of Pressure Luck now. I mean, come on.
Zack and Miri, Hunger Games.
Oh, she also had a taste for Krispy Kreme in the 2017 Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, hey, after 10,000 years, you develop a taste for Krispy Kreme. Just saying.
But now we get to the Oscorp board, who tells Norman, "Yeah, we're gonna
hit the bricks.
Yeah, we're gonna sell the company, and you're gonna be gone, Norman." And he's like, "I made this company. What are you doing? And then he gets all pissed. He gets all goblin-y with the goblin voice and stuff.
Yep.
Oh my god. And then we get to, what is it? The World Unity Fair.
The World Unity Fair. And it just so happens that the Oscorp board is at the World Unity Fair.
Yeah. And also Harry's there with Mary Jane, because isn't it at this point Harry and Mary Jane dating?
Yes.
Okay. So Harry and Mary Jane are dating. Mary Jane is with Harry at the World Unity Festival, and they're wondering where Norman is. But Peter's there. He's taking pictures of the whole thing for the Daily Bugle.
And, yeah.
Oh, and for some reason, Macy Gray is performing at the fair.
Because 2002.
Yeah.
So, the World Unity Fair is going on. The Oscorp board is there, and who shows up? It's Norman. But it's not Norman. It's his crazed alter ego, the Green Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
Well, by the way, he doesn't name himself the Green Goblin. J. Jonah Jameson does.
Yeah. So he's just flying in. He's flying in the distance on that glider thing, and they're all like, "What the heck is that?" And then he's just wreaking havoc all over the place. He's just bombs. He kills the entire board with his pumpkin bomb.
And Spidey comes in and thwarts him before he can kill anyone else.
Yeah. And he also saves Mary Jane in the process. Conveniently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and one thing I liked about this scene is all the early 2000s-ish ads for companies like Palm and Singular.
Good times. And by the way, is this like right before the upside down kiss?
Yes, it's right before the upside down
I
kiss.
figured as much.
But Peter drops Mary Jane off, and Mary Jane asks, "Who are you?" And Spider-Man says, "You know who I am." "I do?" "Yep, you're friendly neighborhood Spider-Man."
Nice. And that, of course, goes into the kiss.
Oh, yeah, the kiss.
Which, of course, because everyone and everything is trying to recreate that in 2002, whether it's on television or in real life. It's 2002 and people are fantasizing about kissing other people in the rain. Upside down.
Upside down. Upside down.
Okay, so J. Jonah is coming up with the names for the Green Goblin.
And he does come up with Green Goblin.
But the Green Goblin then attacks the offices of the Daily Bugle, and he asks J. Jonah Jameson, "Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?" And so he's just lying about how he doesn't know who the photographer is. And then all of a sudden, conveniently, Spider-Man shows up. And then J. Jonah's like, "I knew you two were in this together." And Spider-Man just zips his mouth shut with his web. And then Green Goblin uses like his gas to knock Spider-Man out. And then he takes him to a building in the city.
And basically offers a seat at his right hand in exchange for power or something.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's
so basically he wants him to be his villain sidekick.
Yeah, and Spider-Man's like, "No!"
No, that's not a good idea. But Daily Bugle has headlines about how the Green Goblin and Spider-Man attacked the Daily Bugle office. And there's headlines about how the citizens are calling for Spider-Man's arrest.
Yeah, because it's what 3J does. He creates another sort of superhero hype beast, basically telling everybody he's a menace.
Yeah.
He's not really a menace. He's just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
So Spider-Man, next we see him in a burning building where he encounters the Green Goblin. And so the Green Goblin's like, "Okay, Spider-Man, are you considering my proposal? Are you in or out?" And Spider-Man's like, "No, I'm out." And he's like, "Wrong answer." So he throws a goblin bomb with like, what is it, like 2 knife things coming right at Spider-Man.
Yeah, and he uses the knives to stop the bomb, or uses the bomb to stop the knives. Okay.
So now the knives do graze Spider-Man's skin. So that becomes important because this is taking place on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, by the way, Norman, Harry, and Mary Jane are invited over for Thanksgiving by Aunt May. And it is at Thanksgiving where Norman figures out that Peter is Spider-Man.
Because he's bleeding through his shirt.
Yeah.
And Norman figures out, oh, yeah, that's Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. I stepped off a curb and got clipped by one of those bike messengers.
Oh, let me see. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that looks awful.
Oh, it's nothing.
I'll get the first aid kit. Then we'll say grace. This is the boys' first Thanksgiving in this apartment, and we are going to do things properly.
How did you say that happened?
Bike messenger. Knocked me down.
So what do you do with all of this information? You obviously do what any supervillain does, and that is go after the people closest to him.
Yeah.
He starts with Aunt May.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. She ends up in hospital, and Mary Jane admits that she's in love with Spider-Man because, well, you know.
Well, yeah,
You kiss a guy upside down in the rain. That's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
So, to review, Norman knows that Peter's Spider-Man. Norman attacks Aunt May. She's in the hospital. And Mary Jane, who is dating Harry at the time, admits she's in love with Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, and Harry is dumped by Mary Jane.
He doesn't kiss like Spider-Man. No, really, he doesn't kiss like Spider-Man. It's like, I remember they were talking, and all of a sudden, Mary Jane says, "Kiss me," or something to that effect. They kiss, and it was nothing like what happened.
There you go. And Norman's like, "See, I told you that broad was no good." And then Norman's like, "Wait a minute. She's in love with like that Peter guy?" And Harry's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I have an idea."
Oh no.
So his son, and also Harry does not know yet that his dad's the Green Goblin.
And he doesn't know that Peter's Spider-Man. Harry doesn't know a damn thing right now.
No, he doesn't know anything. He's just like, he's like so dumb.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So, again, what does a supervillain do with all of this knowledge?
Yeah, he steals Mary Jane. So Peter tries to call Mary Jane on the hospital payphone after talking to Aunt May. Oh yeah, another very 2002 thing.
Payphones?
Yeah. So he tries to call Mary Jane's house, and he hears the laugh of the goblin.
Uh-oh.
So now we get into one of the climatic scenes in the movie.
That's Mary Jane on the Roosevelt Island trolley?
Yes.
On the Queensboro Bridge?
On the Queensboro Bridge. So now, the Green Goblin has a dilemma for Spider-Man. You can save the one you love, but if you save the one you love, it'll come at a cost. It'll come at the expense of all these people on the other trolley car on the bridge. So now you have to make a decision. Do you want the girl, or do you want to save the people? And the answer is both.
Yeah, I'm going to rescue both of them. And he does.
This was not a well-thought-out plan by the Green Goblin.
No. Everybody who had seen what Spidey did rallies to his defense, cheers him on, like, yeah, Spider-Man! And basically the Green Goblin is given the business for it.
Yeah.
This is not something you want to feel if you are a psychotic supervillain.
So now we get into the climatic battle in the movie, where Spider-Man and the Green Goblin have their fight in like an abandoned house.
On an abandoned building, and it's just basically a lighter version of the Batman v Superman fight.
Yeah. Or the one from Batman 89.
Yeah.
With Batman and the Joker. So the Green Goblin takes his mask off to reveal he's Norman, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry. Take my hand. Believe in me as I believed in you. I'm like a father to you. He's like begging Peter.
Don't do it, Pete.
Please, trust me.
Don't
Trust
do
me.
it, Pete.
And Peter's like, I have a father, and his name was Ben Parker. And so Norman's like,
his father was actually Richard Parker, but don't tell anybody that.
oh, no. But Norman goes at his fake act, and he's like, oh, Godspeed, Spider-Man. And he has one of the things with the knives on the glider. And Spider-Man's like, oh, yeah, I see this is coming. And he jumps out of the way. And Norman's like, oh, crap. And it kills him. It jabs him through the chest, and it kills him.
But his own glider.
He got killed by his own glider. But before he dies, he begs Peter, oh, don't tell Harry. And he croaks.
So ultimately, Spidey takes the Goblin's body to the Osborn's house, and Harry takes a good look at him and deduces, almost 50% accurately that Spidey killed his father.
So not only that, so in Harry's mind, Spider-Man has taken his girl and he's killed his father.
Yep.
He is now pissed.
He is.
So at this funeral, Harry vows to Peter, I'm going to get Spider-Man.
Next time I see Spider-Man, he's dead.
He's effing dead. But also, Mary Jane is with Peter at the funeral.
And by the way, Harry also says, Mary Jane's gone, my father's dead. Pete, you're the only family I have left.
Oh no, Harry. If only you knew. If only you knew.
That's for the sequel.
Yeah, and speaking of setting up for the sequel, Mary Jane has something that she's wanted to tell Peter. When she was up and she thought she was going to die, there was only one person that she was thinking of.
I love you, Peter Parker.
But Peter's like, you'd think Peter would be happy, but he's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't do it. Because I'm Spider-Man, and I can't tell her that I'm Spider-Man, but I can't do this. He has so many things he wants to tell Mary Jane, but he can't. But he says that he'll always be Mary Jane's friend.
Yeah, broke her heart, really.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand why he refuses to go through that, because he saw what happened to Aunt May when Goblin figured out Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Didn't want to put Mary Jane through that.
No. So we end the movie with Peter saying these words.
Whatever life holds in store for me, I will never forget these words. With great power comes great responsibility. This is my gift, my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yep. Again, very cerebral for a superhero movie, especially when you consider the last cerebral superhero movie was Batman Returns in 92.
So it was like a good decade. Let's get into the box office for this movie was insane.
Yeah, this movie was the first movie to pull 100 million?
100 million in its opening weekend.
Yep, no other movie has done that.
No other movie at that time had made $100 million.
Even when adjusted for inflation.
And it was the fastest movie at the time to get to 100 million, 200 million, and 300 million. And it ultimately finished at the box office with over $400 million. And it made history because it was the first time that, because Spider-Man was the highest grossing movie in 2002. It was the first time a movie in the year a Star Wars film was released at the box office didn't finish as the #1 movie of the year.
In fact, it was the third highest grossing movie of the year.
Yes. What was the second highest grossing movie of the year?
Give me a second, I'll have the answer for you.
Okay.
It was the third highest grossing movie of the year with $821.7 million. Behind Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Okay, so we're going by what?
Worldwide gross.
Okay, so Spider-Man wasn't even the top 3 worldwide. Oh, that was something.
Oh, he was. Spider-Man was the top 3.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It was Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, then Spider-Man.
Okay.
And then Star Wars, Attack of the Clones, Men in Black 2, Die Another Day, Signs, Ice Age, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and Minority Report round out the top 10.
Okay. Now, this finished at $402 million, which was the highest grossing movie ever for Sony, until it was passed in 2017 by Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, which made $404 million. But recently, it has now reclaimed its spot as Sony's highest grossing movie. I'm guessing probably due to re-releases due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm guessing so too. It just seems like a lot of movies were re-released to the theater. I remember Avatar was a prime example of that. Before Avatar was re-released, Avengers Endgame was the highest grossing worldwide film ever. And and it has since reclaimed that title because of release in China, I believe.
Yes. So Spider-Man now, as of 2021, has made $407,022,860 at the U.S. domestic box office. That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of cheese for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh, yes. But also, one thing I want to note is one of the person that was behind the scenes of this movie. So now I want to talk about one of the people that was working as an associate producer in the movie. Now, he was hired initially as an associate producer for X-Men because one of the executive producers of that movie, Lauren Shuler Donner, had worked with him on Volcano and You've Got Mail, and she knew that he had an extensive knowledge of the history of Marvel. And so they hired him on the first X-Men movie as an associate producer, and he did such a good job that Marvel decided, you know what? How about we use you as an associate producer in our next movie in Spider-Man for Sony? And they did. And that guy's name was Kevin Feige.
That name sounds painfully familiar. Who knew that he would become the Albert R. Cubby Broccoli of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah. Oh, and one fact I noticed on IMDb. Now, Hugh Jackman, speaking of X-Men, revealed that he was supposed to have a brief cameo in the movie as Wolverine. But Jackman actually showed up in New York to film the scene. But the entire plan was scrapped when the crew couldn't get access to his Wolverine costume from X-Men.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. And also, this movie, fun fact, is the first movie to showcase the iconic flipping pages Marvel logo at the beginning of the movie.
And an interesting thing, because the trailer for this movie came out in, if I'm not mistaken, summer of 2001. We can't talk about this movie without talking about the trailer. The teaser trailer showed a helicopter being trapped in a spider's web. And the spider's web was being held together by the World Trade Center Twin Towers. That was released about 3 or 4 months before the events of September 11th. And they basically had to recall the teaser trailer and all the press materials because one of the main sort of standouts in the press material was the World Trade Center. So they had to get rid of that. I mean,
understandably.
Yeah.
But, as I mentioned, this movie made a lot of money in the theater, and it made a lot of money on DVD. And you can actually get this movie in a couple of very different variations on DVD. There's like a 2-disc version in both widescreen and pan and scan. But why would you get the pan and scan version?
No. It's 2002. If you're going to get a DVD of a movie, you get it in the widescreen and watch it in the way it was intended.
Yeah. And this is a very loaded DVD. You have commentaries, you have all the TV spots, you have the theatrical trailers, you have HBO making of Spider-Man, you have an E! Entertainment Spider-Man special, you also have documentaries on the history of the comic book. It is just amazing. And you also have, on the movie, you also have like a pop-up video style trivia track on there. And also, there's a DVD-ROM feature that includes a countdown to Spider-Man 2. I don't think that works anymore.
No.
You can still find the original DVD of Spider-Man fairly cheaply. I actually, last week, was in New Jersey, and I was at like a Big Lots, and they had like maybe like 10 or 15 copies of that 2-disc Spider-Man widescreen edition on DVD.
Oh yeah.
You can get it for like probably like $5 easily. It's worth a buck. Or you could go to Goodwill and get it for like $2. And also, in 2004, to piggyback on the release of Spider-Man 2, they re-released the 2-disc special edition with a bonus 3rd disc with a preview for Spider-Man 2 and a sneak peek along with the trailer, along with some extras on the first Spider-Man movie. And also, fun fact, it came with a DVD-ROM demo of the first level of the Spider-Man 2 video game.
Yeah, which actually plays really well.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about the Spider-Man 2 game in our next episode.
Yep. I still have a copy of the GameCube version of the Spider-Man 2 film.
Pizza time.
Good stuff.
And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you could also get Spider-Man on DVD. And how many times am I ever going to talk about this on a podcast? Superbit DVD.
Oh God, you're gonna give everybody a 30-second lesson on Superbit DVDs, aren't you?
Yes, Superbit was like this. It wasn't necessarily a format. It was basically Sony's like excuse of releasing a DVD, but it has no extras. It barely has any extras at all, but it has a higher bit rate and better audio sound quality. It has a giant DTS like surround stereo track and everything. It's supposed to be like, oh, this is like the best you can get in 2002 before Blu-ray.
Yep.
And, well, you can get them at thrift stores easily for like $3 or $4.
You really can.
Yeah, and also, come on. These were retailing like for $30 brand new. Are you really going to spend $30 on a DVD that has no extras just so you can say, hey, look, I have to show it off on your like 133.1 tube TV?
Yeah.
This was mainly just if you had like a high-end HD TV or surround sound. It was basically for those geeks, which was probably like a niche market back in the early 2000s.
Or if you wanted to get a copy for the sake of completion.
Yeah, like me. I got it for like $5 easily on eBay. But there is one extra. If you want to get the Superbit DVD, there is like an exclusive extra, actually, that's not on the regular Spider-Man DVD. There's actually a commentary track with Tobey Maguire and J.K. Simmons on the Superbit version that was released as an exclusive on the DVD-ROM portion of the original Spider-Man DVD that they put on the Superbit DVD.
It's probably the only real extra worth mentioning for the Superbit.
Yeah, because there's like nothing. There's like no extras at all on the Superbit DVD. But also, if you don't want to get or if you're like a Blu-ray snub and you want like the biggest picture quality and all the extras on the DVDs have been ported over to the various Blu-ray versions of Spider-Man 1. So
yeah.
But on the Blu-ray version of Spider-Man 1, you get a Spider Sense Trivia Challenge. Rise to the ultimate web-slinking challenge as you test Spider-Man movie knowledge in this over-feature game. Do you have the Spider Sense to achieve the highest score? Probably not. All right, so that's Spider-Man 1. So do we have any final thoughts about the first Spider-Man movie?
It's sort of a contradiction in terms, really. Because it seems the story is timeless, yet the movie itself is dated.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with all those ads in Times Square for, like, Palm and Singular Wireless. Fun fact, when I got the Spider-Man DVD in 2002, it actually came with, like, a giant sticker for Singular Wireless.
Oh, another fun fact for you. David Koepp was the writer of Spider-Man, obviously. And this is what the shooting script says on the first page. This material is the exclusive property of Columbia Pictures Entertainment. Unauthorized transfer, photocopying, or reading of this material will result in the growth of a large yellow pustules on your fingertips and hands, which, given your habitual self-abuse, did you think we didn't know, will soon spread to your genitalia. Also, posting, reading, or discussing this screenplay on the internet is a sure sign that you have failed to fill your empty life with worthwhile activities on your own, and it may be too late for you. Don't blame us. You were warned.
I'm sure it got leaked anyway.
Oh, yeah, totally. But hey, just a preview of things to come with David Koepp and his twisted sense of humor.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for Spider-Man 1, and we'll come back next time on the Place to Be Nation Pop Experience as we discuss the sequel, Spider-Man 2 from 2004, right here next time.
Yep. Until then, for Greg Diener and everybody at Place to Be Nation Pop, I'm Chico Alexander, inviting you to join us next time as we do another deep dive into the Spidey Movieverse.
They say that a hero can save us, Knuckles saved the world.
This was back when it was acceptable to like Nickelback.
But how can that be? Look what love